Boo! Hello YouTube, Robin Hood Bricks here, and welcome to part 3 of my spooktacular Halloween special, where we'll be completing the terrifying, horrifying Ghost Train, all with the help of Strad von Starovich and his rat Nibbles, of course. But first of all, we better do the amendments from last time, suggested by you. Okay, amendment time. Who is going to earn themselves a shiny bedoing? Well, there were no suggestions for the hearse wagons. That one is clearly perfect. The next one is the ghost transporter, which a few people suggested I added red wings to instead of the original black. Now, I've gone for trans neon orange instead because I had some of those in my collection for the deep sea cabinet, and I figure that kind of fits more with the glowing colours. And besides, all the red ones I had were attached to dragons who rather liked them. So, yeah, I think that looks all right. There is a question of whether all these different colours creeping in takes it away from the sort of rather monochrome look that it had originally. But, you know, with the pumpkins and everything, yeah, I think I dig it. So you tell me what you think of those wings, but I'm going to keep these trans neon orange ones, and I think the people who suggested those can still have their bedoing. The next one is the Wagano Bats, which, although I had a few suggestions for, I'm not going to act on any, so that's clearly perfect, in my mind at least. But the main one that achieved the most comments was this one, with Death riding his horse, looking backwards and pointing at people who regard the train, suggesting that they're next for his scythe. Now, a lot of you are still thinking this is Ghost Rider. It's not Ghost Rider, even though that's the character there. It's Death. So that is why I'm not trying to replicate a film scene or something like that. But I have added loads of flames to sort of mirror his hair. So we've got the big ones at the bottom, and they're sort of flowing backwards with the direction of travel. And I've replaced these sort of tall, pointy ones with these feathery shaped ones for going backwards as well, also in trans neon orange this time. And then I've added some candle pieces to the glow-in-the-dark horse's eyes. They're about the right size. These are far too big. They look a bit silly, so maybe that still looks a bit silly, but it's better side on, just not that great. Kind of like that. It looks a bit like ears, really, doesn't it? Anyway, so those are a few changes. I've wrapped the chain around here a bit more and attached it to Death's hand, and we've also now got the ghost going in the opposite direction, like he's trying to escape the train, which makes a lot more sense than catching it up. Though I did really like the idea that somebody sent in about giving him a suitcase, like he was just a little bit late and he was trying to catch up. That's a good idea, and it's worth a bedoing in its own right, even though I'm not doing it. There was some about the ghost legs, and I thought about using one of these sort of ghost bottom pieces. This one is Officer Santos from the Silent Mary set, but essentially it doesn't fit underneath that shroud, so I can't do that. The spider is still on this side, and we've got more of the flames as well, so I think that looks a lot better. Oh, and I changed the rear light stud for glow in the dark as well, just we've got one more piece there. So yeah, quite a few changes there, but I think altogether now this is looking rather swish. Scary, terrifying, packed and stacked. Oh yeah, brilliant. So anyway, if one of those suggestions was yours, then you have earned yourself a shiny bedoing. Cool, right, let's get on to today's build, which of course will be the locomotive and its tender. Now, many of you were concerned that this locomotive, given it kind of has the look of a steam locomotive, should definitely have a tender. So that's what we're going to be doing here. But it's no ordinary tender because, well, it's not fired by coal, so it doesn't need to be coal storage. It just needs to be some other power source, not just the Power Functions rechargeable battery box, but something else. So I thought I'd use the original set's kind of prison, as it was for kind of keeping a monster fighter captive inside, to hide this battery box, but also to represent the vault, and that would be where all the bodies of all the undead people, all their remains was kept, and that would be a real focal point for ghostly power, and that would be the power that would energize the locomotive and give it enough energy to go around my tracks. So that is my plan. So I've done the usual base that I've done on absolutely all the others, with horns in here, so it's as horny as all the others, but I won't go through that again. I'll just be adding this one's white level on top of that blood red center, and this time we've got a peculiar shape, just to basically accentuate the openings in the vault sides. So the first thing I'm going to do is attach this as hard as I can. Obviously I can just remove the middle section of the roof when we get there to recharge this battery box, so it can be quite firmly attached. And then I can add the kind of doors, I suppose, from what were on the prism, but they're so busy with pieces that basically you can't really see into it anyway, and it'll just be a grey backdrop anyway, so it won't really matter. So each one is just some of these modified bricks with a bar on with loads of bone arms and bones with a kind of lock on it, and I kind of like that because that looks like the gate of a vault door in real sort of old-fashioned graveyards. So I think that's absolutely perfect, and we can push them in a little bit so it looks like they're locked. That looks pretty good if you ask me. And then we'll have the red arch on the top as well. So that is our red flash already done, and it kind of looks a bit like a sort of spooky mouth or something like that, so I really like that already. And the same build on the other side. So yeah, we can barely see the battery box. It looks mysterious, and yeah, all the coffins in there must be generating a lot of ghostly power. So that's very cool indeed. So I'll bring in the sides as I have all the others. And it was suggested as well to me that I could add to this train every year, you know, as Halloween special, just do a one-off and maybe add a carriage or maybe two. And I had some really good ideas, actually. One was for a pump wagon with the Monster Fighters kind of goodies, either being chased by this thing or maybe chasing it to try and, you know, catch up with Death there and put him into the, well, non-real realm, I suppose. I don't know what you'd do with Death, really. He's hard to kill, isn't he, really? But that was a really good idea. And another one, just to use even more of my sort of monster characters, which are filling this bag, mainly from the Monster series that was released a while back. I could have a Monster Mash sort of, I don't know, ghost party, I suppose, on one where they're all having a bit of a boogie. Sounds kind of fun as well. So yeah, lots of ideas for mechanicalized ones if I only had the time to work that out. So yeah, that'll be really good for future years. But going back to this year, I've got some kind of bars on the back there just to represent the security that a vault would have. And then we're going to have the IR receiver being powered by the battery box, of course, and that can have its wire coming out of, hold on, wrong way around, coming out of the window, essentially, which is why I've put this round the wire like that. And I figure when I put this in position, that basically I'll be able to coil up the wire in a little bit of the space in between the battery box and this window, and then kind of put the remainder coming out of the side there, and then kind of clip that up into position, because I don't want to cut a gap into any of these to make it go through one of these bigger holes, and this will not fit through the gap. So I figure that kind of pins it, well, very firmly indeed, into position. So I won't need all this slack when it's all together, so that'll be a good place to store it. So anyway, that looks very secure and very powerful, if you ask me. So on the top middle, I'm going to make this connection to be the switch for the on and off, and it's the usual sort of thing that is always used by me, inspired by that first white train I got, 60051, that basically hangs on that little bit of the power cable and then can teeter off it. So you can see that can turn it on and off quite easily with the power light there. So that is a really good way of doing it. And it's completely concealed, of course. So then we just have to build the rest of the roof around this, and on the end we're going to be securing it in the same sort of way with these more glow-in-the-dark pieces on the top with the horns pointing backwards and forwards, and that'll look really good. And then we can have the sides with the same sort of tooth pieces above the door, making them look even more spooktacular. And then, yeah, an obligatory pumpkin as well on one of the flat surfaces. So there we go. That is all in. Every flat surface has got something spooky on it. I think that looks really nice with that round red mouth. And obviously we've got the functionality built in, so that is perfect. Now we just need something on the end of this with a motor to be pulling all of the rest. Cool. So that looks pretty good if you ask me. Tell me what you think. Good. Well, when we started this project, we had a few aims. One was that it would go on my inner loop, kind of like the Zeppelin train does, not going through the main central station on the passenger line, so that's going to be no problem at all. The second one was that we were going to extend it and make it a bit more funky. Yep, I think we've achieved that. The third one was using proper train wheels and buffers and so on. Yep, and the fourth one, motorized, of course. Well, it just had to be, didn't it? So that is why we've got this motor in here. And I wanted to use the big train wheels I've never used before for a steam locomotive, just like that original set that inspired this build, 9467, the Ghost Train from 2012. And that set wasn't motorised, believe it or not. It seems surprising, I know, but that has been the main challenge with designing this, getting everything in, all the electronics, the IR receiver and the motor, of course, and have it still be able to go around corners and so on, which isn't as easy as you might think. Anyway, one of the improvements I definitely wanted to make when I had these new wheels was put in the sort of 1.5 Technic pin so I could add coupling rods, and I thought they'd look really good doing the sort of motion on the wheels, kind of in anti-phase. I think that's how it goes on the real one, not entirely sure. And with the white as the contrast, it'd look really special. But before I did that, I thought I'd add more horny pieces, this time in a stud with the hole in the middle, with the horn, into the kind of gap that is in the middle there, just so it lines up with all of the other wagons. But sadly, it sticks out too far, so it would just get knocked off. So we aren't going to do that. Then I thought I could add some glow-in-the-dark tiles in there, just on the half stud as well, or half axle. And yeah, that doesn't go all the way in either. It's a bit of a weird shallow hole here, just for some sort of historic wheel that went on certain trains in the 80s, I think. So anyway, that's not going to work either. So I tried to make it more exciting on the side, but all I'm going to be able to do is add this lovely white coupling rod, so it will have that motion when it's going around my loop. I think that's going to look absolutely great. So yeah, I've got those in anti-phase. I think that's right. Anyway, we shall see. Cool. So the front, originally, I put another one of these connection points on in my design, and then I realised it wasn't going to be able to pivot because it kind of needs to do that underneath the locomotive. Otherwise, it can't go around corners. So I've amended that now just to be some plates and panels on the front there to smooth it off. And then I've got this great big setup on the back with a buffer, of course, and some red plates. It's about the only place where I can squeeze some in. So yeah, there's just a bit of a build of plates to go in between these kind of hooks that are another sort of part that were used in older sets, and these very few studs to make a slightly bigger area for connection, because yeah, there's not many bits you can connect onto on this wagon if you want to have it on this motor, rather, if you want to have it being able to pivot and do its thing. So anyway, there we go. So then I'm going to use these pieces here to go kind of over some of the shiny bit of the motor and build over there, so we've got a decent place for the cab. And I've done it with this grey tile in here, so there's a kind of a cavity that when I get to it I can coil this cable really a ton up into, so it's just a tiny bit of it showing for the connection, because it's there that I'm going to be adding the IR receiver. So basically, yeah, I don't want all of that filling up the cab and looking really ugly. I want it all tucked in. So yeah, that's another part of the design that took a while, making sure I had enough space to sort of cram everything in. So I'll arrange that when I stop the video, but that is where that's going to end up. Now this is grey, so it needs disguising, doesn't it? So I've got some nice panels with the edges on, so they look interesting, and those slope pieces that I got in the very last haul. I think they were the last pieces that were outstanding, along with a few more long bones that made up all of the doorways for these. So we've only just got all the pieces in time. Oh, phew! But that covers up the sides in grey, and then I'm hoping the sort of barrel, or whatever you'd call that, of the locomotive will cover up the front, set to channel 4. Cool, so that is all in place. Then we can add a bit more decor on the back with some plates and brackets to kind of go over the back here, so that will go on there. Then we can have more bits that look like they're on a locomotive that do something very important, kind of hanging off there, or maybe that's just steps into the back, I don't know. Hard to show you all in black, but there you go. That's looking pretty good. And the importance of using the brackets there is obviously because they let the wheel go past, because it's all incredibly tight measurements here. Then we've got what is kind of a wheel arch going over the top, like that. Another slope inverted in the middle, and one for the far side. So we've kind of got our cab hanging off the back of our motor. Looking good. So then we can add the sides with some plain windows. And I've just added this 1x4 with a groove down the middle just because, well, it's just a bit more interesting than another plain brick. And this bar is glow in the dark. So that's very cool. So that will show up when we've got the lights in the Lego room off. So that is the far wall over there. Then we've got the near side one. I've got another one of those pesky spiders hanging on for dear life. So that was quite funny. Another passenger on our train. Then we've got the front in here. Oh, and of course we need to attach the motor to the power, of course. So we'll attach that to the red channel in there. Then we can put the controls for the locomotive. That's the inside and that's the outside. So that can go in there. We've just got a slight stripe in that light grey, just to give a bit of contrast. Otherwise you can't really see it because it's pretty much all black. But we've got a dark stripe next for the front of the roof. And I had real trouble getting the dark grey roof that was on the original, so I went for black, which was still quite hard to get, but yeah, nonetheless, I think it probably looks better actually, and that's got more of those long bones and those skeleton arms on, giving it a real sort of rib cage type look, and that looks absolutely great. So that you can ping on and off to get your man in position on the inside. And I was thinking who should drive this thing, and all sorts of different ideas, including what is an awesome minifigure, this video werewolf with his kind of, well, I don't know if they do glow in the dark, but they look like they do, eyes. But then I thought it was probably most spooky of all just to have no driver at all. So I think that's what I'm going to go for, and make it that the face of the locomotive that we'll see on the front is actually driving itself. So this will be empty, hopefully devoid of wires. This wire folded up behind there, this wire folded up into the cavity, and yeah, I think it's looking pretty good. But the crowning glory has to be the little gem on the front, and that is in this trans neon green. And it's kind of got the swamp sort of symbol on it because it didn't come with this set. It came with the 9461 Swamp Creature set from 2012, another Monster Fighter set, but I just thought it was much more in the colour scheme of what we were going for rather than the one that did come with this set, which was blue. What? Blue? Doesn't make any sense at all. So that can go on there. Fantastic. Now there is one more piece that comes in glow in the dark, which is all these grills, which are actually all over the place, these 1x2s, but I don't have any in glow in the dark. I think I've got one, but I've put it somewhere clever, but nowhere near enough for this train. So I'll put those on the wanted list, and then we can make it glow even more in the future. But there is the back of the locomotive with those lovely wheels and the lovely, lovely coupling rod. That looks absolutely great if you ask me. And yeah, our driverless carriage, or rather cabin on the back there with these lovely glow-in-the-dark pieces here and here on the spider, and well, there'll be a lot more along the front. Just a pity we couldn't get any in there, but yeah, I'm going to coil up the wires and then we can build the sort of barrel, as I'm thinking of it, and that kind of front bogie with the cowcatcher. Oh, it's getting exciting. Nearly done. We'll have this going around the track in no time. I think it's going to look really special, especially with the lights off. Right, next bit is kind of the front bogie that will pivot on a point on the front of the cylinder. That all the steam stuff would be going on if it wasn't powered by ghostly power. So I'm going to build a similar sort of setup to all the other ones with some 1x1 Technic bricks with the horn pieces on in the middle. Still got that red stripe as well, so that should tie it in to the rest. This one's 7 long, so a combination of plates to make up 7 in the middle. We don't need a buffer on this bit. One thing we do need on this bit, arguably, is a set of ghost teeth or ghost dentures. It was an idea I had, and I thought I may as well try it. I don't think you're going to be able to see them very well with the cowcatcher on the front, but I thought, what self-respecting ghost train doesn't have scary teeth? Very cool indeed. So yeah, that looks pretty nice as well. Then we can put the white layer on, and in the middle of the white layer we're going to have this connection point for that pivot for it to attach to the underside of the cylinder. Looking good. We can hold that on with that. and then add in our cow catcher. So can we see the teeth when that's on? No, well, kind of. I mean, we can see something's there. It's only when we look from beneath like that that it actually looks any good. But yeah, still a good effect. I'm glad you can see some colour. Anyway, so that's nice and smooth and will pivot well. The important bit with this part of the design is just keeping everything out of the way so it'll actually function. So with that in mind, I've got some sides here with some slopes sort of pulling away from the centre point with some bones on there, and I can get a panel in there as well. So all of this is designed so it won't clash with the cylinder. You can sort of see where that's going to go here. And then the same on the other side with more bones and red trim. Very nice indeed. It's a pity these big bones don't glow in the dark. That would be absolutely awesome. And then on the very front, I wanted some headlights, and I couldn't decide between a stud on trans neon green or a glow in the dark tile. So I've added both. When in doubt, go with both. Just like I used to do with Airfix kits when building planes. Do you want guns or bombs? I want guns and bombs. Not historically accurate, but much better. Oh yes, that looks good. So it's almost like two eyes. It's going to have a face up here, Thomas the Tank Engine style, but it kind of got two faces in a way with a mouth and two eyes there as well. So that's good. And then what I wanted to do was add some curved slopes on here just to sort of cap it off so we didn't have any studs showing on each side. But basically that will interfere with the barrel when it's going around the corners. So we'll just have to leave it like that. So that goes there. Wow, right, so I've learned a lot about steam locomotive production and all of this, how they actually work, where the pivot points are, what clashes, what's difficult. And the thing that holds all of this together is this barrel with the wonderful glow-in-the-dark dish piece with that evil face. So that's why we don't need a driver for this train, because this guy is the driver. Very nice indeed. So the hardest part for this part was these 4x4 round bricks with the stud holes on the four sort of sides of it. We need ones on the bottom to connect with the motor and that and pivot around and so on. We need the ones on the side for the side trim, and then we need the ones on the top for all sorts of detail. So at the very front, I've got a white one so I can add another horn. Why not? Yeah, make them look even more spooky. Then the next one, we need to add the funnel. Oh, and the original had a great big, huge trans green sort of flame coming out the top, but if this is going to fit under bridges in due course, that's far too high, so I've just added a little girly version of it. But yeah, it's still kind of sinister and green looking. Added a bit more detail than the original set on the inside of there, so it looks rather nice. Then, well, we're going to need a spider, aren't we? So we'll attach that on the top there, and then for the final two on the top, we've got the train's bell, and again that bar piece is glow in the dark. Quite hard to get those, but I managed to get three. So we've got two for the handrails and one for the bell on there. So that is kind of the top done, looking very nice indeed. So that then can be decorated with the sides that I quite frankly couldn't improve on from the original set, using these lovely sort of spooky fin pieces. And oh, I added horns. Did I add those horns or were they on the original? I can't remember. But yeah, it's a really interesting little build on each side. And then that can be added like that onto all those connection points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's why the spacing's important for those stripes. I think I changed all that around when designing it just to make it even more secure. And that will fit on there. So this is quite delicate now, and it's got all this sort of bits that kind of move that are held on. But I think it's still very in keeping with the old set, which I very much like. But when all of this together, we won't even know that it's been motorized, I hope, because that goes on there. And you can see it just pivots a little bit, but that is vital. And then this bit goes, can I find it? Somewhere like, that! Hurrah! So, yeah, where is the battery box? We don't know. Where is the IR receiver? We don't know. Where are the wires? Well, there's one, but that's all you can see. Just a little loop there so it can go around corners very easily. I've connected these two buffers together securely as well, so this is kind of one piece. But it does now look like a steam locomotive, albeit a very spooky one with glow-in-the-dark bits all over it, and it's tender. I think you'll agree. Spirit-powered. Ghostly power, not coal, of course. So that is absolutely great. So yeah, glow in the dark, 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 and more along there as well. So that should be an absolute treat. I'll try and give you a desk run of the glow in the darks with the lights off, I think, in here. But the real proof of the pudding is going to be in the Lego room. I just can't wait to get that going. But here is, for the first time, our full-length ghost train. Oh yeah, that is suitably long, all the way to the ghost at the very back. That is very nice. And I'm really looking forward to, most of all, having this lovely coupling rod spinning around in a really interesting way. That is got to be the best way, the best reason for having a steam train in your city. The original steam train that I have for pulling the Leviathan train, what is it, the Flying Knotsman, is basically using just normal old train wheels because it was based on the My Steam train. So it doesn't have any, and I'm kind of regretting it now because that looks super cool. It's going to look amazing. Right, so let's have a quick go with the lights off in here, and then it's to the track, which is still on the floor, sadly, but, you know, I can't do everything. Well, not very good pictures, but you get the idea of what this is going to look like. Wow, look at the body in there, glowing when it goes around in the dark. Wow, the back is very good, isn't it, with that horse and the ghost? That looks absolutely special. Love it, love it, love it. Right, to the Lego room. Well, that is just lovely, isn't it? Wow, it looks so good together. Shame it's on my floor and not on tables, but yeah, we need to get back to the city after all of this. Well, I've got my remote. Let's turn this thing on and, hopefully, yes, see it going around a track. Oh, wow, I absolutely love the locomotive. That is very cool with those coupling rods. Oh, I think something hit something there. Let's give it a bit more speed. Wow, look at it go round. That is going at an absolute rate. Makes a nice sort of clicking noise when it goes over the T-junction. Oh, golly. I think that ghost hit its head on a table leg. Maybe it's getting flung out. Oh, it is. It's getting flung out on the corners. It's going to do it again, isn't it? Here. Ouch. Poor ghosty. You would have thought it would go through the table leg, but it's getting smacked on the head every single time. Let's go for a close-up of head smashing. Ouch! That is absolutely comedy. I absolutely love that. Cool. Well, that is our lovely ghost train going around very quickly, looking very spooky indeed. Now I just need to try it with the lights off because I think it's going to look really special with all those glow-in-the-dark pieces. But I just have to make it back here safely without tripping over any of the other obstacles. One more head smash. Well, the ghost train looks absolutely spectacular in the dark in real life, but not so much on camera. No, it is a real problem getting the shots in. I've reduced my frame rate to 24 frames a second, and I've got partial light on at the moment, and it just really can't pick it up at all, which is just awful because it is so cool running around my floor. It's quite frustrating. I can kind of follow it around and you can see the little bits glowing, but then it will just vanish into obscurity before too long. The only thing you can really hear is that a ghost every now and then tinkling his head onto that table leg. So yeah, I don't really know how to capture this any better. I can do it in still shots, but not in video. Yeah, you can just kind of see it going into the gloom. Well, you'll all just have to come round to the Lego room in real life and see it because, believe you me, it is pretty amazing. Yeah, just such a shame I can't show you. Oh, look at it go. This train is a real treat. Absolutely fantastic addition to my stable of trains. It's a shame I don't have the trick of filming it in the dark, or the tech perhaps, I don't know. Maybe you experts can tell me the right settings that I should be using. But yeah, I really like it. It's got fantastic action with those connecting rods on the large wheels, and the fact that we get a smashed ghost head every loop is a real bonus. Doink! Still amuses me anyway. So as always, thank you very much for watching. It is appreciated. Do remember to like, comment and subscribe for more awesome LEGO videos. And if you value this channel, there are many ways in which you can support it. Do check out the links in the description below. And for the next few weeks, I think we better concentrate back on the city because we're still on the floor, not making progress. And that's something I really want to fix. So yeah, we'll get on with that. But in the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful Halloween. And until next time, see you! Yeah, that is very fun. Poop poop!